Hi there, I'm Heather Ostera, Media and Marketing Associate for the Western Stage. In this series, we'll be exploring the history of the Western Stage by talking to company members and alumni from seasons past. We'll be asking them to share their experiences and how their time at the Western Stage impacted their careers today. While many company members have come and gone over our 45-year history, we're making 2020 all about coming home. In this episode, we'll be talking to Jon Selover and James Floss, who shared their first season at the Western Stage in 1984. Let's see what they have to say. Thank you both for being here today. Can you tell our viewers a little bit about yourselves? Let's start with Jon.
I'm Jon Selover. I'm currently the artistic director of the Western Stage, and I first got involved in 1984 when I was brought in as an actor for the summer.
I am James Floss. I am recently retired from Humboldt State University, where I was an undergrad, a graduate student, and an instructor for 34 years. I worked at the Western Stage 2 summers during my undergraduate years.
All right, so let's start with James on this
Yes.
one. How did you end up at the Western Stage, and what did you know about the company beforehand?
I did not know much about the company, but I was very involved as an actor, as an undergraduate. My BA is in acting. And I was very involved here on the North Coast with all kinds of ways of making money as an actor. Most notably the chamber readers, where we went up to all the local schools and shared literature, and that became my career. But when I saw a flyer in the theater arts department that there was somebody coming from the Western Stage holding auditions, and it meant professional work as an actor, I immediately signed up to audition. To spend a summer somewhere else, especially down in the Bay Area where I had friends, and make some money doing it just seemed very appealing to me as an undergraduate acting student.
And Jon, what's your story? How did you end up at the Western Stage, and did you know anything about the company?
I did not. I didn't really know anything about Salinas other than, driving from I grew up in the Bay Area in Los Altos, and so had family and other things in LA, so I would drive down 101 and stop to get gas or something to eat in Salinas, but it never crossed my mind. Then I was actually down in LA for the university resident theater grad school auditions, and some friends of mine were going to an audition for this theater in Salinas, so I crashed the auditions. And I got hired for the summer, same. So I actually brought my family's fifth wheel trailer to Salinas and parked it in what they used to call the football housing behind campus. And I rented out a couple of beds to a couple of other company members for the summer to make a little extra money.
So, what shows did they do that year? And tell us about the roles that you had.
Sure. Both 2 summers I was down there, I was in 3 shows. The first summer was very minor roles, and the second summer I had some really meaty stuff. But the first summer I was in a show called Broadway, a 1920s kind of guys and dolls sort of gangster play, and I played the part of Dolph, and then I was just Mendel and Fiddler on the Roof, a very tiny role. I can't sing well and I can't dance well, so it was good they had me in the back for the musical. And then I was second murderer in Richard III and a fight captain. And the man who taught me fight choreography at Humboldt State University, Chris Villa, a dear friend of mine, he was the fight choreographer that summer, and I was one of his fight captains, and that was a lot of fun.
So in 1984, I was cast in, I guess, 4 shows. I was in Broadway. I played Scar Edwards. I had a scar on my face, which I just so happened to have an actual scar on my face. And Scar Edwards gets killed in about the first 2 minutes of the show. And then I got to play like the offstage waiter for the rest of the show. And then I was in the chorus of Fiddler on the Roof, and we invented the role of a name for my character of Shlomo.
Shlomo!
Shlomo became infamous. Reg Houston actually had printed up Shlomo buttons that everybody wore on their prayer shawls underneath their costume. Shlomo had a talent that if you rubbed his head, he could tell the future. And so that was kind of the, in crowd scenes, people would come over and rub my head and I would spout some nonsense about the future. And then I was in Of Mice and Men. I played, I was the understudy for Shoot the Damn Dog Carlson, because the director had cast himself knowing that one weekend he was not going to be there, so he needed an understudy. That was me. And then I was in Richard III, and I can't tell you who I was. I was somebody in Richard III.
There was a story that you guys were telling about Richard III. Wasn't it about some guy who couldn't remember his line or something?
Oh, Richard.
Oh, yeah.
Saint
Tell us
Wolf
about
was
that.
his name.
St. period Wolf. Now is made the summer of our discontent.
True story. We also regularly performed with more people on stage for the final battle than
Oh my
were
God.
in the audience.
That's right. I tend to forget that.
It was on the main stage.
Main stage.
Doing
Oh,
Shakespeare on the
wow.
main stage, yeah.
I just want to say, though, to follow up on that, those were the days. We had a great time, even though I'm bringing up some of the things that might have been problematic. It was a wonderful summer. And I wish I could remember more of their names, but I don't. But I do remember our famous poker games in the football house and in the fifth wheel.
Yep. Also part of that summer was David Parker, who has been involved with the Western stage almost continuously since then, and is also my closest friend. And Bill Wallach, who also has been involved in the Western stage ever since, directed Richard III and was in Fiddler on the Roof with us. And kind of a, I don't know, sidebar to it all was another member of the company was Keith Farley. And at the time he spelled it like a normal person spells Keith, Keith. And many, many years later, when I was as the artistic director of the Western Stage, there was the musical Bat Boy. And I was interested, and I was producing it, and one of the creators was a Keith Farley, but it was spelled Keythe. And so in negotiating for the rights, I sent an email and said, I knew a Keith Farley, but he actually spelled his name correctly. Does this have anything to do with it? Anyway, it was the Keith Farley who answered me that it was because of equity, I think. One of the acting unions, there was already a Keith, so he went with Keythe. So actually, when we did Bat Boy, Keith came to see a performance, and he and David Parker and I got to get together after the show and reminisce about 1984.
Now, James, you
Yes.
came back to the Western stage in 1988. You want to tell us about that?
Sure. I was very serious as an actor as an undergraduate. I thought that was what I was going to do with my life. But I had learned a role up here, way up in the north here in Arcata, California, for the Pacific Arts Center Theater called Children of a Lesser God, where I had to learn sign language for the lines of the play. I didn't learn sign language. I don't know sign, but I had to learn all of my lines and all the lines that I received. It was a leading role. And when I heard that the Western Stage, I guess I saw a flyer again, a theater arts department, that they were looking for actors for their 88 season, and they were doing Children of a Lesser God. Well, I just kind of broke into those auditions and said, I'm your guy. I know the role. I just did it up here. And so I was invited to do that. And I did not know how many regional differences there could be in sign language. Some of my first rehearsals down there at the Western Stage, working with the deaf community, and I'd go through the lines that I had learned. I'm not going to try and do them because I don't remember them. And they would say, what? They had to use that sign? No, use this sign. And I had learned it in my body as an actor, not as a language. And it was very difficult to unlearn things that I had committed to my body to know, and then try to do it a different way. But it was it was a wonderful production.
What other people do you remember from 1988?
Well, from that play, Children of Lesser God, is my dear friend Michael Ray Wisely, who has had a very full and rewarding career in the Bay Area theater scene. Even though I'm way up in Humboldt County, I still read the San Francisco Chronicle every day, and I see him in there a lot. And I just go, yay, Michael, you're doing it. And he was in Children of a Lesser God with me.
That's great.
Yeah.
There was somebody who ended up directing for us for 2x4 Bash. Who was
Yeah,
that?
so that's actually Michael Wisely's wife.
Wendy
Wisely was also my classmate in the MFA program at San Jose State, which is a connection that we will be talking a lot about between the Western Stage and San Jose State University. So, so Wendy came and was involved in some of those late '80s seasons, as was Michael.
Well, that summer, 1988, I felt like a hero because Children of Lesser God got a lot of attention, and it was a leading role. I've never really been a leading man type of. I've been more of a character actor. I lost like 40 pounds for that summer, and I was in Judavine, and I played 2 roles of that. Antoine, oh, shit have got damn, David, we had to sell these pussy wigs to the women's. That's a line from the play. And Conrad, a very contrasting character. And so playing those leads, I was on top of the world. So how did it impact my life? I came back feeling like a real hero in my community, and I had a sense of confidence. And I met my wife about a year and a half after that, and I was still kind of trim from it. And I kind of think that there's a cause and effect there, that my confidence from that summer kind of led to the rest of my life. I will also say that the director, Bill Wallach, really impacted me quite a bit. And I wanted to find out what this directing business was. And soon after that summer, my interest in acting started to wane, and my interest in directing really started to rise. I consider myself as a theater artist, as a director. I did a lot of acting when I was younger, and it was a lot of fun, lots of good connections, but I found my voice as a director, and Bill Wallach helped with that. But it was the theaters up here that gave me a chance, and up in Humboldt County, that I just kept going and going, and I'm really proud of my body of work as a director. I was involved in all the theaters up here. I've been on their board of directors. I helped create a group called Interact, where all the local theaters got together, and we did one program to save money. I also had 2 radio programs on our local public radio station, Backstage and Curtain Call, which was a weekly calendar of all the theater happening up in the North Coast. And I sold this idea for years of doing a goth version of Hamlet. And it took a long time for one of the theaters up here, the North Coast Repertory Theaters, to say, sure. And it's kind of legendary. The thing I've tried for years to do, I finally made it work, and it worked. And then I've worked at the Redwood Curtain quite a bit. They're a smaller theater, probably much closer to the theater that I'm going to be doing A Doll's House Part 2 in, 3/4 round. And I'm very proud of my work I did there. Most recently, the Language Archives and Clybourne Street, which picks up after A Raisin in the Sun. So it's kind of like A Doll's House Part 2. It's a contemporary play that picks up after a classic play.
So my evolution from actor to stage manager actually tied to that first years here at the Western Stage. I obviously came as an actor in 1984. I wasn't part of the company in 1985. I was supposed to go away to Missouri for grad school, and I didn't. And instead, I enrolled at San Jose State in a pretty new MFA program at the time, and it was in performance, and I got accepted. And literally right at the beginning, you had to make a decision about whether or not you were going to have an emphasis in acting or directing. And I made a very consequential decision and said it was going to be directing. And I did everything there. I did a lot of stage managing. I did assistant directing, directed my own projects, and then that summer of the first year of grad school, we hosted the American College Theater Festival at San Jose State, and I met Tom Humphrey, who was then the artistic director of the Western Stage, and I talked with him. And so I sent him a letter and said, I'm a stage manager, and I want to come and stage manager for the summer. And that really was the beginning of my arc of to where I am today. I was a stage manager, eventually the production stage manager, leading all of the stage managers, and then promoted to production manager and started to direct big shows at Western Stage, and eventually producing director. And then in 2000 end of 2001, I was hired as the artistic director. I did continue acting some at the Western Stage. I was what the hell's his name in The Foreigner? What is his name? Oh, darn it.
Ellard?
Ellard. Yes, I was Ellard in The Foreigner, but of course, no question that the peak of my acting career was to do Adam in East of Eden in the first two full productions. And I was also involved in the development of the script, heavily involved in the development of East of Eden. I went to North Carolina to work with playwright Alan Cook for a couple of weeks to really finish the structure of the piece. So that may have been the end. I may not have done really any acting since then. I got to like the idea that when opening night happens, you're done. You don't have to show up at rehearsal anymore.
Well, we just sort of reconnected on Facebook, and I saw what you were doing. You kind of saw what I was doing, and then I mentioned that I'm retired and I could travel. And you said, well, this is my final season, and you had some really great plans for your final season. You gave me 3 options, and it turned out to be Doll's House Part 2. And when I looked at it, I fell in love with it immediately. And I said, yes. And I wish I were down in Salinas right now working on it. Last night, we had our second read-through with Zoom. These people are impressive. From the first read-through to the second read-through, and this is something very meaningful, Jon, and you'll understand this. I gave pages and pages of notes from the first read-through. Maybe I blew them away a little bit that I really gave them so many notes, but the second read-through, they heard me. They listened. And I was so excited last night to have such a successful second read-through. These people know the play, they know the characters, and they're already doing amazing stuff. So I don't know how this is going to end up. I don't know. Obviously, trying to do this in electronic form is a kind of directing I've never done before. It's fraught with the unknown, but I hope this gets to stage because it is a tremendous cast and they know what they are doing. And I'm just going to nudge them to be better.
I hope that we will have that chance to reconnect when we bring A Doll's House Part 2 to the Salinas audience, and they get to see James's work and the work of the wonderful cast that we've assembled for that production. I look forward to when that happens.
Me too.
Well, thank you, Jon, and thank you, James, and we'll see you soon. If you like this video, be sure to follow the Western Stage on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram to get more episodes of Coming Home. Or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll see you next time.